Welcome to playing Kill Team on a Death World. So sometimes I think that I'm the only person who likes this old Death World terrain. This was one of my first kill zones back in Killteam 18 when it first launched. Like a lot of people back then, I didn't really like playing with this terrain. It didn't really work very well with the line of sight rules at the time. I stuck with it in Killteam 21 just as a bit of variety and made a video about it about 2 years ago. At the time of filming, I've almost finished the book Death World and I've been inspired again. So from the last time I videoed this, I've reworked the pieces slightly. So I've taken out the bits of sponge that are inside, taken off all of the plastic plants, then darkened the trunks up slightly, then so some really quite thin watery brown paint over the top, so adding quite a thick wash if you like. It's still kept, I haven't recoloured any of the fungus or the vines, so it's kept everything there, and there's a light dry brush over the top. I then restuck the plants in, giving it a more cohesive look rather than the random plants I had before. So I've gone with these purple ones having these plants around them, the more tree-like ones just having small bushes at the bottom, and there, look. And then with the big spiky flowery ones, I've given those the taller grass-like plants. So where the plants have been glued on, I've covered with flock and a little bit of texture paste, and then some flock, and that just helps blend everything in. Also added a little bit more in various places, just so that you can it blends in and doesn't look too out of place. Then I've also made these extra trees out of aquarium logs, whatever you want to call them. I think their roots are broken up, glued back together in a certain way. You can see the colour difference there. That's a texture paste put on top, dry brushed over, and then just some foliage stuck on the top. So these were made really to go with ruins as opposed to in the forest, but I think they look quite good on their own as well. And then of course I've also got these based aquarium plants of varying sizes, and mainly greens but reds in there to provide accent colours. When it comes down to playing these things, there isn't any current guidelines from GW, and so it's tricky. One of the problems with this terrain was you could always see straight through it, and the main parts of the terrain and of the trunks, so you had a clear line of sight straight through, which meant that they did nothing on the battlefield. So I think that's slightly different in Killteam 24, and this is what I'm thinking of doing with it. So the way I think that this should play is as heavy terrain. These trunks count as heavy terrain. You can, if you can see through, if you can see the guy here through the trunks, then you can shoot at him. But you are either obscured or you take your cover save. Now, these smaller pieces, I think, can play as light terrain. So if you're obscured, you can't be shot again. But if you can see round them, you only get a save if you're in conceal. Now, possibly, I think maybe you can't shoot through 2 pieces of these terrain, a bit like the sort of 2-inch rule for heavy. So you pretty much can't be seen through 2 pieces, and I think that you shouldn't be able to shoot through. Now these bigger lumps, these big trunks, they're traditional heavy terrain, and they can't be shot. You can't be shot at if you're completely behind one of those. So smaller pieces as light, the bigger pieces as heavy. But of course, you can still be seen. Now, the way I think this works is that I can see this guy through the trunks, which means I can shoot at him, but I'm likely to be hitting parts of the plant and maybe quite fast-paced action. Maybe I'm only shooting at the movement, so hence the obscurity and the missing of the critical hits, and only retaining the standard hits. If you did want more heavier terrain, there's nothing stopping you from putting a bit of ruin into the battlefield, and be that Volcus or Sector Imperialis, or even Mechanicus. One of my favourite things that I've always done is just stick some containers into a clearing somewhere, but bits of rubble, some old ruins, yeah, and that provides the battlefield that you might need. Speaking of heavy terrain, here's a rusty old crane that's got itself lost in the forest. Or what about an old fortified base of operations that needs to be either taken over or escaped from? I think really using it as light terrain, it's like using a lot of scatter terrain, but makes for a very, I'm sure you'll agree, a very thematic, very interesting board. And it's not just decoration. So I am going to play a lot of Deathworld, partly because I just, like I say, the book has really inspired me, but partly because I think it looks really good. Well, thanks for watching, and yeah, hopefully this inspires you. I'm not sure I'd recommend again looking for Deathworld Terrain on eBay is silly money, but if you've got it, I think paint it nicely and use it. Final thought is maybe this board is a bit too dense on the terrain front, even if it's all light terrain, but it looks good. And knocking it back by taking out just a few of these plants, and suddenly there's a lot of space to move around, and it still looks like a death world. Anyway, thanks for watching.